Because he's a friend of mine. Saying congratulations. Jesus. No.
Yeah.
We're good.
We streaming yet, Jim? When his alarm goes off, you know, it's 6:30. Okay.
Good evening. This meeting is being held in accordance with the public law of 1975, chapter 231, and adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by a notice sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger, and posted in the main lobby of the municipal building and on the municipal website. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, mics are on.
They're on now. Yeah.
Yours are down there.
Are they blue or red?
They're white. Test.
No, not that
No.
one.
Oh, not that many.
The little ones.
Oh, the little ones? It's white. Yeah, ours are white.
Can you shake that?
Yeah.
No, there's no point. It goes all the way to the wall.
Let's keep following you.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just saying because people at home can't.
Yeah, they'll
Hear us.
hear this.
I don't think you put sound in.
Have the remotes right there? Yeah.
Nice. Nice to see you.
Next.
Someone just reached out to let us know that they can see and hear us.
Oh,
Okay. That was kind of them.
all right.
Thank you for your service.
Roll call, please, Laura.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Here.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Present.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood? Here. Councilmember Forrest?
Right.
Councilmember Janone? Deputy Mayor Trigiano?
Here.
Mayor Portman?
Here.
Have quorum, sir.
Thank you. We have a whole bunch of proclamations, so. Here we go. First up is for Jazz Appreciation Month. Whereas jazz is an original American art form that affirms the noblest aspiration of our national character, individual discipline, perseverance, and innovation. And whereas jazz has produced some of America's leading creative artists, ranks as one of America's greatest exports to the world, and has inspired dancers, choreographers, poets, novelists, filmmakers, classical composers, and musicians in many other kinds of music. And whereas this April marks the 125th birthday of one of our 20th century's greatest artists, Edward Kennedy Duke Ellington. And whereas jazz has spoken eloquently for freedom from people in the United States and abroad, and has become an international language that bridges differences and brings people of all races, ages, and backgrounds together. And whereas Red Bank has a deep connection to jazz as the birthplace of William Count Basie, As the home of the two nonprofit organizations that honor jazz in programming and education, the Count Basie Theater and the Jazz Arts Project, which curates and presents world-class jazz events such as the annual Summer Jazz Cafe at the Two River Theater and various music education programs for area youth. And whereas the Borough of Red Bank also offers events focusing on jazz music with a two-part series curated and presented by Jazz Arts Project, the annual Jazz in the Park series, and the Count Basie 365 concerts held in Johnny Jazz Gata Park. And whereas on April 30th, Jazz Arts Project will hold Red Bank's International Jazz Day celebration as a participant in this global event that was created for the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, together with legendary jazz pianist and composer Herbie Hancock, in order to highlight jazz and its diplomatic role of uniting people in all corners of the globe. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Jazz Appreciation Month in the Borough of Red Bank, and urge our residents to become involved in a local jazz society, enjoy the arts and music programs offered in our borough, and to celebrate the month of April as Jazz Appreciation Month. One down, 4 to go. Next up, it is Apraxia Awareness Day. Whereas May 24th, 2024 marks Childhood Apraxia of Speech Day, during which awareness will be raised throughout New Jersey about childhood apraxia of speech, an extremely challenging speech disorder that affects 1 in 1,000 children. And whereas childhood apraxia of speech causes children to have significant difficulty learning to speak and is among the most severe speech deficits in children. And whereas the act of learning to speak becomes effortlessly to most children, those with apraxia require early, appropriate, and intensive speech therapy, often for many years, to learn to speak. And whereas without appropriate speech therapy intervention, children with apraxia will have diminished communication skills, but are also placed at high risk for secondary impacts in reading, writing, spelling, and other school-related skills. And whereas that such primary and secondary impacts diminish future independence and employment opportunities and challenge the ability to become productive, contributing citizens, if not resolved or improved. And whereas public awareness about childhood apraxia of speech in New Jersey is essential for families of children with this neurological disorder and the professionals who support them to achieve the needed service for those learning to use their own voice. And whereas our highest respect goes to these children as well as their families for their effort, determination, and resilience in the face of such obstacles. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, proclaim that May 14, 2024 is Apraxia Awareness Day, and citizens of Red Bank are encouraged to work to increase awareness and understanding of childhood apraxia of speech. Next up is Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Whereas this week is a time to show our appreciation and to recognize that our health, safety, and well-being are often dependent on the commitment and steadfast devotion of public safety telecommunicators, because emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, emergency medical service, or other critical services. And whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of law enforcement, firefighters, and medical personnel is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Red Bank 911 Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. These dedicated men and women are the first responders and are more than anonymous voices on the telephone line. They are local police, fire, and medical professionals who use public safety telecommunications to quickly respond to emergency calls. And whereas emergency responders rely on their knowledge and professionalism to make critical decisions, obtain information, and quickly dispatch needed aid. Public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators at the Red Bank 911 Center have assisted with the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. The work of these unseen first responders is invaluable in emergency situations, and each of these dedicated men and women deserves our heartfelt appreciation. Citizens place their trust in these individuals, not just this week, but every day of the year. And whereas each telecommunicator exhibits compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job, assisting those in need. Now, therefore, in recognition of all the men and women of 911 dispatch centers whose diligence and professionalism keep our citizens safe, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, do hereby proclaim April 14th to the 20th, 2024 as 911 Public Safety Telecommunicator Week. Right. Do we have a dispatcher here?
Oh, yeah, come on. A couple of them.
Do we have more than one of these?
You have to share it, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Read out.
Hard being mayor sometimes.
All right, next up, a proclamation for Earth Day. Whereas all species play a unique role in the complex web of life and contribute to the ecosystem services on which all life on Earth depends, and hence protecting our species is crucial to the survival of this planet and its inhabitants. And whereas wild animal populations have declined on average by more than half, and the Earth is facing an era of mass extinction. And whereas the loss of species is for the most part a result of human activity, including degradation of ecosystems, deforestation, pollution, and climate change. And whereas many plants, wild animals, and pollinators live in urbanized landscapes, and cities therefore thereby have a responsibility to examine the ecological impacts of expanding urban areas and how to protect biodiversity. And whereas it is understood that sustainability will only be achieved by meeting the needs of the present without compromising the needs of future generations. And whereas it is more important than ever to cooperate locally and internationally to defend the environmental progress that has been heretofore gained. And whereas it is essential to expand and diversify the global environmental movement to achieve maximum progress. And whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental activism, stewardship commitments, and sustainability efforts. Now, therefore, I, William Portman, Mayor of the Borough of Red Bank, proclaim that April 22nd, 2024 is Earth Day, and citizens of Red Bank are encouraged to celebrate and to increase awareness and promote the protection of our world. Yay, Earth Day.
Wait, now. You have lights on?
Yes, now I do.
Okay.
It's fixed,
Sorry, Jimmy, proceed, please.
persistent.
The question is, you the borough, well, I just said borough administrator. We can just say we have to do something to get this money. But I'm sorry. My thing is, it's beyond, like you said, beyond, and I'm gonna use the term, before I even came to this town, almost 34 years ago, I actually hear about way back in the 70s. My thing is, why you wanna bother something that don't need to be bothered, but it can't be, like I said, you can dig and dig, but you can't clean what's something. My thing is a dangerous situation. And I mean, for example, I'm gonna give you, that's like, the daycare center. That's been 10 times dug up and everything is, now the kids can't play there. And another second thing, look at the second, right on the side of Second Baptist North Branch. You know, they now sign up there, stay out hazard. But my thing is you can't guarantee nothing. Even these people, whoever they are, they up in the suburbs, I don't know, another state, they talking all this good game. And my thing is about money. But my thing is you can't touch something, even water is polluted. I was told about, even before I came here, what is polluted, not to go down there and play in it. You can't fish, you can't swim or something. But my thing is, why is it so much concentrated on the foot of Sunset? And you can take some of this money and fix up the bleachers over here. There's a lot of other things need to be fixed back. And basically, my thing is, how many people live that's in this room live down there at that place? And my thing, these people can't fix something that's beyond unfixable. They're not here to answer the question, and they don't want to be here because they're gonna get hit with the question. And nobody should be bringing, that's like Pitt Falls landfill. That's the worst mess I ever seen. And then, now they're talking about 20 million, it was now $20 million to be fixed. And my thing is you should leave something alone before you touch something that you can't touch. And my thing is, I always use the term, nobody here is an engineer, nobody here is a doctor, scientist, biologist is gonna tell us you can't catch something what you can't see. Like COVID-19 still goes on to the thing. And that is man-made, but this thing, you should just close it up and leave it alone before you do something. And just like Second Baptist and down in the social service building in Freehold, they built, it was something that's bound to happen. Ladies, I bought a townhouse or a condo for me and my son to have a nice place to live. Then she said, I didn't know it was contaminated. From down there, and lady said, she started crying. She said, I'm gonna have a problem. My son, my grandchildren, all 2 generations gonna have a problem. And my thing is, this is something you should just leave alone. But this is something man or woman cannot take care of. And these engineers, they'll sell you a cookie or a lollipop and tell you anything you want to hear. And my thing is, don't mess with nobody, don't play with these people as guinea pigs. Because you can't see with a negative eye what's down there. I was told somebody to go back 100 years or more, it's in the ground. Leave it alone, because once you touch it, vapors come up and you can't see it. Look at 10th Fall. Somebody said from 10th Fall all the way down to Neptune, we smell this stuff. And they don't, engineers are not gonna tell you, not guarantee you, just like, for example, I'm gonna use you for example, you live in Mattawa, right? Okay, now you get somebody that's been here, I was pointed out to me, been here 100 years, and they told me, don't even look down there. It's unfixable. People always, they said, I say today, society always want to try to fix something, but when it's tore up, then they run for the hills. Nobody wants, when something is already damaged, when people get damaged, bodies get damaged, nobody wants to talk about it. It's something that can't be fixed. I have talked to a lot of people over the years, and still to this day now. And I'm gonna tell you, for example, it's like Hunts Point out there in the naval shipyard in San Francisco. Family members tell me out there, same thing, they try to clean it up.
Jimmy, I'm sorry to cut you off. We forgot to run the clock on it too, but we still have a 3 minute.
But the reason I want to talk about this, because I'm so sick and tired of hearing this. you hear it from years and years. If they say they're just gonna clean it and cap it, leave it alone. You cannot say we might make a recreation park, but why would you wanna make a recreation park on something that's it's not safe? I don't wanna go down there, and I'm not gonna go down there. I'm gonna tell my family not to go down there, cause it's been told to me 1,000 times. I'm not older than everybody sitting on this panel. But when you get somebody almost 100 years old, come and sit and have a little conversation. They said, just close the gate to look at Second, right on, for example, Second Baptist North, right?
Gotcha, Jim.
And it's take that money, just from these people, and I'm gonna say it real short, these people wanna give you money to do something to damage somebody's life, and it's gonna happen. So look, all the places I mentioned to you, the same thing keep happening, even lawn grants, people here say I got respiratory problem, lung problem. Some people don't pass off or passed away from this, and I said, you don't wanna see nobody sitting up there with a ventilator or a ventilator or oxygen machine.
Jimmy, I'm sorry.
All right, but my thing is, but the thing I'm saying is, Mayor Foreman, they should have a big and open time period. Because what I think a lot of things is being hidden from people to know about this. And I'm telling you, when you go sit there, the reason I'm saying this, because this is the most devastating thing I ever heard of. And you talk to a doctor, they said they can't.
Jimmy, I gotta cut you off. I'm sorry, just gotta keep everybody on time.
Right, but what I'm saying is, the reason I didn't have last time, this thing was not working up here. And I think that should be another thing they should put money into, because I drive
That I agree.
an hour to get in here, and I couldn't even get in here.
Right.
But the last thing I wanna say, but I mean, you need to bring these people over there, because it's like somebody hiding in the closet, putting out paperwork, do this.
We're happy to do a public presentation on it. when we-
And
Yeah.
don't wait till the next 3 or 4 months. And I'm saying this because I'm gonna come back again, and keep coming, because Mayor Foreman, this is something that I wouldn't,
Jimmy.
nobody.
I know, Jimmy, I gotta cut you off, please. We got a bunch of other people to talk to. Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to address a couple things because the borough's been under this obligation since the 1980s. We also have another deadline of May 20th of 2023, which has since passed, to actually remediate the property. The property requires a cap and closure of
Federally?
yes,
Right.
and state, requires a cap and closure of that landfill, which is not capped and closed. And we talk about the continued pollution that is happening from that site. We need to remediate it. Undoubtedly, the site needs to be remediated. We talk about professionals, health professionals. We've hired several professionals going back to the 80s, the 90s. In 2007, there was a report. In 2016, there was another report with not much done. You know, when I first came in and first hired as manager, this seemed like a pretty significant priority to me. Because, not to mention that the borough is being fined every single year. It's coming out of taxpayer money. You know, the fines that we incur, I believe it's $19,000 is the figure.
Bingo.
So we can't just continue taking on fines and not rectifying a property that needs environmental remediation. If there wants to be a discussion about what that property is then used for, have the discussion. But the funding needs to be put in place for remediation, and we have that obligation.
Thank you. Public comment, anyone else, agenda items? Yes.
Yes.
It was going 23 Cedar Street. First one is ordinance 2024-15. Parking park for hours minimum 29-24 to maximum 29-24. But on February 1st, you're hiring crossing guards at $30.04, so. Next one would be 2024-15, section 6. It basically says there's a list of employees that we're gonna pay for mileage. I didn't see a list of employees or what criteria makes these employees eligible for that.
I don't know.
24-102.
Okay, I'll pause.
Sue, can you detail the last two again, please?
Sure.
Thanks. And we won't,
Have time?
we understand. Yes.
The
The first one was crossing guards.
Right, on your listing, it's saying it's $29.24 minimum and maximum, but on your Facebook page, February 1st, it says you're hiring crossing guards at $30.40. So there's a disconnect. So are you paying people without having the right ordinance? No? That's number one.
What was the second?
Section 2 is 24-15. Section 6, it's saying there's a list of employees that can use, I guess, getting paid for the mileage. I didn't see a list, so who's on the list or what's the criteria to be on the list? 24-102.
Are you talking about? That doesn't line up with that one, does it?
Shall be designated.
Only
They have been
and
designated.
you're gonna resolve that Red Bank established is health. So it looks like in the next paragraph, you're talking about directors. Is this a paid position? And what budget are they gonna have and how's that gonna affect the cost?
Yeah. Mayor, can I speak to that? Okay, in 24-102, you were talking.
She has more questions.
Yeah, just wait until she.
Resolution 24-108. Just spoke about the cost per hour, but there's a 4% increase for following years. I was just wondering why 4% inflation right now is 3.5%. Are you expecting inflation to go up, or is that the industry standard and 4% automatic raise? That's all.
You want to start with?
Crossing guard pay.
Okay. 24-102, you were discussing about the task force. It's just a task force of employees where they would meet to go over what is required, the social determinants of health. Right?
No additional cost for stipend?
No, there isn't any, no cost.
No, several of us were trained. I was one of the people trained and then Shauna, and they're already employed here, so they would not be extra people.
As far as the salary ordinance is addressing the change that's indicated by the underlining, but if there's a discrepancy with pay, it's for the crossing guards, which I don't believe there is. I believe you're being paid as what's
You are
advertised,
being paid, but it's not word.
as was advertised, right? Okay, so, you have within the audit within the year to change the salary ordinance to reflect any changes in pay. So we'll be sure to take that under advisement.
So are you saying you have the minimum and maximum? So I was told when I've asked other questions regarding the salaries, that you would stay in that grouping. Now you're paying above the maximum, so you're allowed to pay above the maximum?
It's my understanding that the decision and the salary was discussed previously with the previous police administration, and that was set. So we'll look at the discrepancy. But as far as I know, we're paying the crossing guards based on what was advertised.
You are paying them correctly. I'm just saying.
That's good. I'm glad that we're paying them correctly.
I just, want to think the ordinance would reflect it.
Agreed.
Anything else?
MCF, as far as the 4% increase, that was the negotiated increase with MCF because due to the professional services for the project. It's an ongoing project and, I see no problem with that increase.
I wish you all got 4% raises.
Anyone else for agenda items? Yes.
Good evening, excuse me. Good evening, Alan Bell, 64 Current Street. Item 2020, sorry, 2024. And it's really a side issue from the actual item itself, but it says it's to include the new position of community engagement coordinator. And I try and follow events in this council avidly, but I don't recall the new position of the being discussed here, am I correct? And it happens, how does it sort of end up on an agenda? By what process? Is this, one position? You know, there's on costs here well into, well over $100,000. Which, it is, would be a new item, but, taxpayers. We don't see any, new trail of how this job is used. I mean, I'm not surprised because the council has got a tendency to do this. Last time, it was to actually hijack the settlement, and instead of asking people on their bank what they prefer, the money was shifted into the police department. I happen to think this particular item here, this particular position is actually a good idea, But it should have been the one that people from the town could have said should have come from that money. All I'm concerned about is there's a lot of strange ways that money is spent here, and new jobs are put here, and how it's accountable. So I'd just like to know, how is this job ended up here?
Well.
Yeah, Alan, I actually recommended this creation of the position to the governing body. I do that by way of our agenda setting meeting, which then makes it onto the agenda for consideration. This is a recommendation from me. I believe, just like you said, the community engagement coordinator is extremely vital in this community in particular. I think I've seen that over the last 3-4 months, that this is really a needed position to bridge a lot of gaps that we have. And I think to do a much better job at communicating with the community, I think that we can do that through applications and websites and social media, but until you have that actual human element within your actual government, I think you're missing out. So this was my recommendation to the governing body that I wish for them to consider tonight.
But there's no job description, does that exist?
There is,
Yeah, there is.
it's posted.
And
But we're not advertised for the position yet.
how do you come up with the job description?
I created it.
Anyone else have any questions or comments on agenda items? No, anyone online?
Nobody with their hand raised.
No? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public comment on agenda items only?
I make such a motion.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, approval of minutes and reports. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from 3/28/2024?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Next up, public hearing and adoption of 2024-13, amending and supplementing section 680-60, schedule 26, restricted parking for handicapped persons. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone have any comments on this ordinance? Anyone online, Jim?
No, sir.
Okay, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance only?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-13?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mayor?
Yeah.
There's some concerns with that ordinance. That were raised by the Shade Tree Commission.
In here.
Yep, there are some,
We're still on the 2024-13?
oh, sorry, not 13, go
Yeah, we're
ahead,
doing a
sorry,
roll call.
yeah, sorry, I moved ahead.
Councilmember Bonatakis?
Like them.
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facey Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Tridiano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes,
Motion passes.
Nancy, now, what were you
Yes.
saying?
In ordinance 2024 14, which is under to amend chapter 655 trees. The Shade Tree Commission has some comments that I received this afternoon, and I'm not sure how you wanted to proceed. I did send the email as soon as I received it. We have the vice chair of the Shade Tree Commission here. I don't know if he wants to add anything to it. Bill?
There you go.
The council, Bill Brooks.
Hold on, Bill, you gotta,
Can't hear you online, Bill.
you don't get high in the back of the room, Bill.
Let's try that.
Good evening. My name is Bill Brooks. I am Vice Chair of the Shade Tree Commission,
And address?
77 Tower Hill Avenue, Red Bank. I have not had a chance to review the comments that were presented to Councilwoman Blackwood because I came here right from work.
Okay.
I have read this one. I have not read 665 in its entirety, so I don't think at this point in time it's responsible for me to comment on the changes that are proposed to something that I have not read. There are some things in here that I think should be discussed further, but as I said, without looking at the document in place now, I don't want to comment on that. I don't think it would be for the best interest of the municipality.
Thank you.
That's all.
So Mayor, I'd like to recommend that we make a motion to table this ordinance and reintroduce it at the next meeting.
Everyone okay with that? Do we have any issues with, I know that we have a deadline to get an ordinance enacted. But we have any issues, but
It's okay if we table it. What I was gonna say is, Bill, can I email you and we can get, and Horace, put together an email so we can meet between now and the next meeting to get it, to make sure that next time it's all.
Certainly.
Okay, cool.
Mr. Cannon. The state just finished a 3-session webinar regarding their new proposed tree ordinances tied to the MS4 stormwater act. And all municipalities in the state, as you're aware, are required to comply with that. The hard date was originally set for 1 May. However, it came out in the course of these 3 webinars spanning roughly 6 hours. They understand you can't introduce an ordinance, snap your fingers and have it enacted.
Particularly about trees.
Well, but if you demonstrate that you are going through the process, they will grant you reasonable extension past 1 May to continue the process and enact it so that it is correct for your municipality. And they have stressed multiple times that you must tailor it to your municipality, and they give you great flexibility to do that. And I think it would be prudent that we take advantage of it. Because if we do it and we get it adopted, the discussions I've had with the case manager from Monmouth County, who will be the case manager for Red Bank, as she is for where I'm working in Ocean, they indicated they'll give you a lot of flexibility to enact changes as long as you do not go less than their minimums. And I think we already want to go over their minimums in many cases. So I see no problem there. If you were to table this, as long as we let her know.
and we'd probably only be like a week or 2 minutes the deadline.
Oh, so of the model ordinances, so to be clear, there's multiple model ordinances. This is one of them. This is the only one that you're not required to adopt as presented. They intend that we amend it as Mr. Brooks just said. So with respect to this one, the other ones are already in place. We're good on everything else. So this one's no problem. If it gets adopted in May, that's okay.
And they indicated to me that they would be pretty liberal with granting of time, not 6 months, but they'll certainly give you a month to 6 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I already have an extension for Roosevelt because they're dealing with caliber and trees and all sorts of stuff. So, well, if you want, motion to table is perfectly fine.
Okay, so can I have thank you, Bill. Can I have a motion to table ordinance 2024-14?
So moved.
I have a second. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
No. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks for being so on it, Nancy.
Okay, next up, an introduction for 2024-15, amending the salary ordinance of the bank to include the new position of community engagement coordinator. Can I have a motion to approve 2024
That's the salary ordinance one?
Yeah.
Jim?
Go ahead, Laura.
So what you could do to Sue Viscomi's point, we could just, since it's introduction, we could just expand the range because I do know that that's below what they're currently paying. So if you want to bump it up to that part of the range to say $31 or $31.50, we can do that now. By motion.
Can I motion to introduce with the amendment stated? I motion to introduce with the amendment stated to the specific line of the salary ordinance pertaining to crossing guards and moving that salary range up to the current one that was offered.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. And now,
When is the dates for those for
For adoption,
adoption?
be the 25th.
25th. Hearing and adoption.
Mr. Mayor, we had a motion, so can I have a motion to introduce 2024-15, amending the salary ordinance of the Borough of Red Bank to include the new position of community engagement coordinator and the change in the crossing guard pay to reflect the current reality.
I made that motion, make that motion.
Right.
Second.
We got to start something new.
Councilmember Vonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facie Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trigiano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes, the public hearing on this ordinance, on April 25th. Solutions,
2496.
actually, no, we have one more. No, that's it.
No,
Yeah, 2020.
2024-16 was pulled. We're still waiting on another approval.
Yeah.
That shouldn't have been on the current list,
24
current agenda.
to be on. It's
I had an old copy, Laura. It is,
That's
it's both.
2496. That's the budget introduction.
Okay,
Congratulations.
all right, let's go, resolution 24-96, introduction of the 2024 municipal budget. Can I have a motion to approve on introduction?
So moved.
And a second,
Second.
roll call, please.
Councilmember Vonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facie Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trigiano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes.
Passes, sir.
Thank you. There'll be a public hearing on this on May 9th, and there's also a budget presentation here on Tuesday, April 16th at 5 p.m. All are invited. Before we do the rest of the resolutions on the consent agenda, is there anything that anyone sees that need to be pulled out? Or can we do all the consent agenda? Everyone good? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve resolutions 2497 through 24-108 on the consent agenda?
I make such a motion.
All in favor? Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Vonatakis?
Yes.
Councilmember Cassidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Facie Blackwood?
Yes.
Councilmember Forrest?
Yes.
Councilmember Janone?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Trigiano?
Yes.
Mayor Portman?
Yes,
Passes, sir.
thank you. All right, can I have a motion to open the floor for public comment?
Make such a motion.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
All right, remind everyone that you have 3 minutes to speak. You can get up and speak once, and please be respectful of everyone who is speaking here. With that, the floor is open. Anyone have any comments or questions?
Keeps emailing me. There's somebody in there. Yes.
Neighbors, my name is Georgiana Shanley, 115 Harding Road, Red Bank, New Jersey. And I'm the coordinator of the Amnesty International South Jersey chapter. I'd like to reiterate our request for this council to pass a ceasefire resolution to stop the killings of civilians, to give full humanitarian aid to Gaza, open all the borders,
and to release the remaining hostages. And I don't think it's any more than that, and I don't see how that could be in any way controversial. I want to tell you a story about one Palestinian man. His name is Bassem Tamimi. He's a father, a husband, and has 3 children. And he lives in the village of Nabi Salah in the West Bank in Ramallah. It's 15 miles from northwest of Ramallah. His family, 400 years ago, his family came to Nabi Salah. 400 years ago, not 40 years ago. We came to Red Bank 40 years ago. And the village has experienced the Ottoman Empire and the British Mandate. And he was 9 years old. He witnessed his parents and his grandparents resist the illegal Halamish settlement. The soldiers came, and there was a lot of guns fired, and that child of 9 remembers all that. So they have always fought to defend their land. The illegal settlement of Halamish now takes up 80% of their land. It's illegal. They're selling houses in Englewood and different parts of New Jersey from this illegal settlement. He was arrested many times for resisting the takeover of his land, and in 2013 he was severely tortured and left paralyzed. He lost over 20 of his relatives, including his sister, who went to visit her 12-year-old son in prison, and a soldier pushed her down the stairs and she broke her neck. Easy come, easy go, very disposable people. And each Friday, Bassem held peace vigils, and also they chanted to have their lands back. He invited Jews, Christians, and it got to be a very big and profound time for everybody. The EU designated him a human rights defender. Amnesty International designated him a prisoner of conscience. In September of 2015, he was invited on a peace tour of the US by human rights groups. South Jersey Amnesty Group invited him to speak in Ocean City and to the community. And he stayed a few days there. He's a very educated man. Can I finish the story, please? He's a very educated man. He's a master's in science and a master's in international law. On October 29th of last year, his car was stopped. He was dragged out and he was taken in by the IDF, Israeli Defense Force, and nobody knew where he was. No contact with his family. Nobody knew if he was dead or alive. Finally, this week, we found out that he's still alive, but he's in prison. What did he do? What did he do? He's now in administrative detention, which is a place where there's no charge, there's no jury, there's no evidence, there's no lawyer, and his detention is renewed every 6 months. So his detention, again, is going to be renewed in the middle of April. He's one of the over 7,700 Palestinians that have been put into prison since October 7th. Is he one of those who have had their hands cut because the handcuffs have been too tight and his feet amputated because of that? Is he wearing a diaper, as these reports show that this is what's happening in prisons? Is he being fed through a straw? Is he being humiliated like many of them? The Red Cross is not even allowed in to view. No journalists are allowed in. What are we doing, propping up such an apartheid state? It's like a concentration camp for Palestinians. And over 40,000 people killed, 44% of them women and children. We're paying for it. You say it's not a local issue. Of course it is a local issue. We are paying tax money for this. And I am appealing to you to do the right thing. Look at your conscience. A lot of Jewish people do not see a need for this kind of humiliation and massacre and starvation of people. And I'm really, really appealing to you to pass this ceasefire resolution. Have some courage and take a lead. And I thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I know we need to, be respectful of everybody, but if we don't stick to this clock, then we're being disrespectful to everybody. So we really need to keep a standard. Thanks.
Most important.
Anyone else?
Absolutely.
Yes. No.
No one is cutting off one person and letting one person go.
Even funny shows, red flag buttons. What parents want their children appears to be universal, generally. Universal. Safe home, good nutrition, peace of mind, education, and health care when the child is sick. Palestinian parents strive for same goals. Literacy of 15 to 24-year-olds in 2016. Gaza and the West Bank was 99.4%. Despite living under conditions where schools and individuals could be disrupted by Israeli authorities anytime, parents are very focused on children being educated. Since October 7th, the vast majority of schools have been destroyed in Palestine and Gaza. Many of the children are in great starvation. Very negative psychological effects on children due to grief, stress, separation, noise, and sickness. UNICEF is extremely worried about the damage done to these children. With younger children, some can develop lifelong cognitive disabilities from malnutrition. Teenagers are likely to feel anger at the injustice. Small children whose brains are still developing are particularly at risk from mental health cognitive damage. 620,000 children are now out of school because of school disruption. Nearly half the Gaza population is under 18 years of age. There are 14,500 children have been murdered in 6 months, which is 44% of the total Palestinian number. 17,000 children that have been orphaned. 200 children in Israel are in jail. Many are subject to torture, with their hands cuffed behind their backs and blindfolded. They were Irish, Jewish, or Italian children. There would be an outcry. You all have a chance in a lifetime opportunity to apply pressure on President Biden. How many more lives would be lost for the resolution presented to you? Also, saying the resolution would impact all the hostages, would provide humanitarian aid.
Thank you. Yes.
Line as well.
Seems 2025 Cedar Street. My first question is, I read that Marine Park for the quote was gonna be ready, hopefully completed in summer. So I'm wondering when you guys are gonna start having events at Marine Park. Number two, I wanna thank the chief, he put up cones to ease some of the pain at in front of lunch break. Ironically, the cones are gone for a little bit, but they came back again. That turn is pretty funky during certain times of the day. So I appreciate their attentiveness on that. And number three, I would like to thank the police that came out yesterday. Somebody literally drove and hit the pedestrian crossing sign, like big sign is out and just went right for it. So hopefully you guys have in the budget, like some signs, because they're really hanging together by keeping everything. Just a follow up on the park for Marine Park, is all the bonding complete, and what's the total budget for completing that park?
just to answer your first question, the first phase of Marine Park is what's being addressed. That has gone out to bid, just this past week, advertisement for bid just this past week. So we plan to have the bid opening on April 30th and anticipate to award the contract on May 9th. And that is for the parking lot and creating the green space. In that contract, they'll also address our White Street parking lot easement issue that we have over here on the White Street parking lot. So current phase is creating the parking and greening in the current parking area that's there.
So how many phases are in total?
2.
When is phase 2 gonna be done?
But we still have to work on that within our budget introduction. So to answer your question, as far as the funding in place, the funding is currently not in place, but we have it anticipated for this year's budget.
So is it out of a high hopes to say in crises that you hope that the park will be completed in the summer?
That's not what he stated in the article. The article states the first phase will be completed by the end of,
This will be completed.
I read the article myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, first phase, absolutely the expectation.
I'm gonna go to a couple of
Asmin?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
Hi, my name's Yasmin Afzal. I'd like to urge the city council to pass the resolution on ceasefire in Palestine. And I would just like to read something because my words aren't as probably influential or impactful as someone who's actually there. This is an article by Musallam Abu Khalil. He says, "I'm a doctor in Gaza. I've never seen our biggest problem before," published on February 15th, 2024. I'm a physician employed by the UNRW, the UN agency responsible for Palestinian refugees. I'm stationed in Nusrat refugee camp in the central area of the Gaza Strip, and I manage a primary care outpatient clinic in one of the UN shelters. I live near the shelter where I work. My family was forced to leave our house 3 weeks ago to go to Rafah because the Israeli army marked major neighborhoods inside Nusrat camp as an active military zone, so we were extremely fearful for our safety. Just 1 month ago, I narrowly escaped death. There was an airstrike near the street where I travel every day to and from work. If I was late home by 2 minutes, I would have been blown to pieces. There is significant personal risk, but because of the new situation in Rafah, Israel is planning to storm in. My family has returned again from living in a tent there to our home in Nusrat. We always are in constant fear for our safety. In my clinic, we see close to 150 patients every day. We don't take any days off because the internally displaced people sheltered inside here have continuous medical needs. We work all 7 days a week. The kind of medical problems we see are mainly because of uncleanliness of the bathroom shared by hundreds of people. There are many sorts of infectious diseases inside the shelter, including gastrointestinal, diarrhea, and respiratory disease, and even infestation of lice. We have never seen this before. I've directly observed many cases of young women and children whose scalps are infested with lice. But we don't have the medical supplies or treatment for them. We don't have anti-lice shampoo or to treat them properly, nor do we have the sufficient water supply for them to take baths to maintain their personal hygiene. Personal hygiene is very bad, and control of infectious sources is getting worse, largely because so many people from the inside and outside of the shelters are sharing bathrooms. Adding to this complexity, we don't have the medicines that can cover the full course of the treatment for our patients. For example, instead of giving a patient full strip 10 tablets of anti-fever medication, we just give them 4 tablets because we don't have enough. Undertreating these patients is a major problem. Patients aren't getting the same quality and standard of care as before the war. We are working in an extremely challenging situation, and I witness it every single day, and so do other shelters. Because the primary care outpatient clinic is sponsored and run by the UNRWA, we get our medical supplies and medicines exclusively from them. We don't have any international partners or international response mechanisms that can give us medications. If we run out, we don't have anything to give our patients. We're entirely dependent on the UNRWA and its ability to continue its operations in its shelter. There is a cluster of UN school shelters around us that house primary care outpatient clinics like ours, but we are all dependent on it too. It's the only resource we depend on, and it's a critical one. I can't imagine any way our work could continue without it. We rely on foreign aid. If that's cut off, we don't have anything to feed or treat ourselves. It may be shocking to read, but the extreme limitation of medical resources mean we don't have excellent standard of infection control in our clinic, which is a converted classroom. I depend on my personal items. I have my own alcohol scrub and face mask. It's not well organized, but it's the only thing we can handle. We don't have our own sink inside the room because it's not designated to have one, so the clinic doesn't have washing water. I do my best to use the alcohol rub before and after seeing my patients. And it keeps, yep.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, we had our 3 minute, your time, you couldn't hear it in here, but your time is,
Okay. Thank you.
thank you. Anyone else?
Yes.
Evening. Nice to see everybody. My name is David Harrison, and I'm the rabbi at the synagogue at 186 Maple Avenue. I live in Hudson Avenue, 96 Hudson. I'm here representing our synagogue and here in Red Bank, and I can safely say local area synagogues. Also accessed by the Jewish Federation, Monmouth, Middlesex County, to present on our behalf our opposition to the ceasefire proclamation. We can all agree that the situation in Gaza is pretty bad. It's a war. War is not pretty. Mr. Fenichel over here, I agree with him. It's a tragedy and a travesty that the schools are closed. Children are at home, they've displaced, they've been moved away because the IDF is trying to get those people, the 30,000 plus armed terrorists of Hamas, who came in, stormed the border, and just committed the most horrific slaughter any of us could ever imagine on October 7th. We were down here, down the block that fateful morning. I showed up in synagogue, there were two guys there. And before me, I usually get there at the beginning. And it was really bad. They said, oh, there was attack in Israel. Unfortunately, I've been to Israel many times. We're all too used to attacks. Ever since the founding of our state, 1948, the moment it was founded, in 5 or 7 Arab countries, all the surrounding Arab countries, they attacked the Jewish people. Golda Meir put it very well. She said, if the Jews would put down their arms, there would be no Israel. The Arabs would put down their arms, there would be peace. Jewish IDF, they're in Gaza. It's not pretty. It's really bad. We all agree on that. There's, a shortage of food. And obviously, we all know that, there was a misidentification on that food convoy last week. Schools are shuttered. The reason what we have to examine and discuss and talk, and I'm here to talk with anybody, but the reason why is what we have to look at. And, while the Israelis are building shelters for their civilians, Hamas has been spending the last 15 or 18 years using our taxpayer money, building shelters for the Hamas gunmen underneath those schools, inside the hospitals. I don't think it's even disputed anymore. These are horrific war crimes. War crimes are different than regular crimes. Regular crimes we're all familiar with. War is very bad. During war, to be a war crime, it has to be really bad. And to place your soldiers, your RPGs, your people trying to bomb all of these millions of Israeli innocent civilians, to place them inside schools, inside little girls' bedrooms, inside hospitals is the most horrific thing. And that's why the IDF is there. That's why they need to finish it. A call for a ceasefire essentially means letting Hamas survive until the next go around, next year, in 5 years. They say, Hamas says they will do October 7th again and again and again and again. And if you're okay with that, if you're okay letting Hamas survive and do those October 7th attacks, then you support a ceasefire. But that's why Israel, the IDF, And I think most thinking people, who care for everyone. The loss of every life in the Torah, we learn every single life is precious. Care about those Gazan children who need to be in school, then we have to get rid of Hamas. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. And
Thank you. Anyone else have comments?
hi, my name's Lee. I just want to say that as an
Can
American,
you just say where you live, please?
I live in Lambertville, New Jersey.
Thank you.
My grandfather was a Greek American who lived, my family grew up in Little Silver, New Jersey. He fought the Second World War, risked his life fighting Nazis. There's no fragment of anti-Semitism in my blood. Half of my friends are Jewish. I'm gonna say this, I think that it's disgusting when we hear this kind of talk that is so one-sided. That, yes, there were atrocities that were committed by Hamas on October 7th, and if you believe in international humanitarian law, these kinds of war crimes should be pursued in the International Court of Justice. However, if you are going to accuse Hamas of committing war crimes on October 7th, I think we should also talk about the other side of the coin, which is all of the war crimes that the Israeli state government has committed since October 7th and before October 7th, starting from 1967, when the Israeli state government started settlements in the West Bank of Palestine and Gaza that have been verified over and over again are completely illegal and a violation of international human law. I would like to look at proportionality rates of the deaths of innocent civilians, of men, innocent women and children. So we have a apparent statistic of 1,200 innocent lives lost on October 7th. Since then, the Israeli state government has murdered over 35,000 innocent civilians, half of which are women and children. So if you are going to say that we need to pursue condemning Hamas and attain justice for these kinds of war crimes, then why is no one talking about the 35,000 plus deaths of innocent civilians that have been killed since October 7th? I will say, I will not allow and accept my tax dollars as an American citizen going into supporting the murder of little innocent babies. It's disgusting. If you're a parent, you should be appalled. And I am not an Israeli citizen. I am an American citizen, and I refuse to have my tax dollars going to a sadistic and satanic state government. Thank you.
You know, I'm gonna say something that you crossed the line to where it wasn't any longer polite discourse. And I'm gonna ask, and it has been for weeks. And I just want to say we have to show respect to everybody, period.
Stop genocide.
And I have to call it out that crossed the line. We found the line. If anyone's wondering where the line is, we just experienced it. So please don't cross the line. It has been so respectful, so meaningful in this room for weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
I pulled the fire alarm. No, he
He went out the wrong.
Out the wrong door.
All right.
Door alarm, everyone.
Jim, you want to go to Simone Board?
Yes.
Hi, all. My name is Frances B. from Ocean County, and I'm just joining in to demand that the representatives of the Red Bank Council pass an immediate ceasefire resolution. I am horrified by the atrocities and war crimes committed against the Palestinian people. The only moral and reasonable action is to pass an immediate ceasefire resolution to put an end to this massacre, this genocide. And I believe that we crossed a line at genocide. I agree that this is a local issue as it is our taxes that fund it, that fund the senseless death of babies and civilians. Okay, please, please, please consider the staggering loss of life. And please find your humanity to pass this resolution. It's really disturbing and devastating to me to witness a literal genocide unfold, knowing that most of our elected officials are actively co-signing it. 13,000 children have died, and that's on record. I wonder what isn't on record. On average, that is 35 children a day, 85 children a day. 85 children a day are dying. 85 children will die tomorrow. 85 children will never get a chance to go to school again. They will never pray with their families again. So please find your humanity to pass a ceasefire resolution to put an end to the senseless killing and the senseless war crimes that Israel is actively committing. Thank you so much for your time.
Wait for them to unmute.
SM, are you there?
They're unmuted, they just unmuted, so. Yeah.
SM, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I hear. I'm so sorry about that.
Okay.
There you go.
You just state your name and where you're calling from.
Yes, I'm Sarah Marie and I'm from Ocean Township.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to keep this very simple and very short. I think it's a shame that we're at the, that we are where we are right now. We're essentially begging for people to call for a ceasefire so that the murders of innocent people will stop. Shame on us. Shame on anybody who's continued to stay silent. Shame on anyone who has the power to make a difference and make this world a better place. That's really all I have to say. I mean, I'm truly out of words. So thank you for your time. I would really appreciate any effort that could be made to create peace on Earth. We need you. We need your help. So please, if you would take that into consideration, as an American, I would appreciate that. As a Palestinian, I would appreciate that. As someone who has children who are also Palestinian, and living in a world where it seems like people look at us as less than, it's really shameful. And I am hopeful that there will be change and that this will end and that people will be able to live in dignity and with a fair chance at life. Thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Seer. Go ahead.
Good evening. I'm Alan Hill, 64 Macdonald Street. I'm going to come back on this dreadful topic of Gaza ceasefire. I'm not going to even dwell on the absolute, some people might call it fog of war, some people may call it deceit, shown by both sides, demonstrably shown by both sides, and conveyed as truth. I'm going to ignore all that. Well, I'm going to stick on two things. One is something like 40,000 people died. A large percentage of those, more than half, with women and children. I don't care if those children were Gazans. I don't care if they were Israelis. I just care that they're children. And what I'm absolutely dumbfounded is that counts for nothing on this council. You're hiding behind a shield of hypocrisy. You're hiding behind a mayor who used his offices to declare total support for Israel on behalf of the town. And yet, you as a council are denying the community the right to come back, even wheedling about 3-minute speeches. I mean, really? That's what you want to do, shut people up? I'm asking this council to have a bit of guts. It's 6 months, wasn't it? That's just gone by. I'm not even American, but I'm totally ashamed of my own country's role, which is in that area, which has gone since at least 1870, and on a number of occasions involved members of my family, even my father. So I got a bit of an idea what I'm talking about. And it's clear that this council wants nothing to do with it. We know that the majority of Americans even are in favour of the ceasefire. Majority of Americans, even the New York Times, believe that there has been awful misinformation on both sides. All we want to do is show that this town don't just care about dreamers or people who flood your meeting on other days and get far more than 3 minutes to speak, but it's in your interests. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in this town showing an ounce of humanity. And you won't, because you don't want to embarrass your mayor. Mayor, you know, you have got no right to sit there and deny the right of the rest of this town to say their piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
She asked me to give these to you. Ann Davis, 153 River Road, Red Bank.
Thank you.
I'm here to again that Red Bank passed the ceasefire resolution. And I just wanted to highlight some of the situation that occurs after 6 months of this terrible situation. There's a publication I read today that says USAID Administrator Samantha Power, whom you may remember, a well-known liberal interventionist and the author of the famous book, American Leaders' Failure to Act in the Face of Genocide, answered in the affirmative when asked whether famine is already occurring in Gaza, which is under a suffocating Israeli siege and relentless bombing. Yes, said Power, in northern Gaza, the rate of malnutrition prior to October 7th was almost 0, and it is now 1 in 3 kids. During her opening statement at Wednesday's House Foreign Affairs Committee hearing, Power said that nearly the entire population of Gaza is living under the threat of famine. And I just want to say, seeing children starve is horrible. Seeing anybody starve is horrible. It's a very bad way to die, especially when it's imposed. This is not a natural disaster. Then I wanted to give you a quote from one of my favorite people, Bernie Sanders, he's out there. He said, "Let's be clear. This is a monumental tragedy for the Palestinian people. But from a moral perspective, it is also a defining moment for Americans, because the United States is directly complicit in this horrific war. And that's why we need a ceasefire. It's our country who's doing it." That's not Sanders, that was my interjection. To know the US military is not dropping 2,000-pound bombs on civilian apartment buildings. but the United States is supplying those. No, the United States is not blocking the borders and preventing food, water, and medical supplies from getting to desperate people. But we have supplied billions of dollars to the Netanyahu government, which is doing just that. History will judge what we do right now, the senator continued. History will judge whether we stand with starving children, whether we uphold America's professed values, or whether we continue to blindly finance Netanyahu's war machine. And then there's a headline, assertions the emergency cruelty like Israel's genocide in Gaza. We urge anyone who reads this to publicly oppose sending weapons to Israel as long as this onslaught continues. And that's the handout that we have, which was published in Common Dreams, commondreams.org. If anyone wants to go to the website, you'll find that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to speak? Yes.
My name is Mackenzie. I live in Prop 0778. And I do just want to express my opinion. I don't think that outrage that gentleman prior felt is crossing the line. I think genocide is crossing the line. I think the genocidal murder of over 40,000 civilians is crossing the line. And that's actually an appropriate response if your heart is working to have that rage and to have that much emotion. Speak from my own heart, recently I have felt more and more untethered, without gravity, suspended in a haze of mourning, rage, and absurdity. It is absurd and it's deluded that we move robotically through our routines, stiff and frozen faced like puppets, insulating ourselves in our privilege. This illusion of distance from genocide, terror, famine, displacement, death, just a random accident of birth and geography. Everything has felt hollow and senseless and dissonant, like the sky is grating itself against the earth. The earth is trembling in objection. A moment of fear hammering against our pathetic hearts. Last Friday, our houses trembled. Did you experience a second of panic? A minute. Israel has dropped 65,000 tons of explosives on the people of Gaza. Recently, I have reached for my mother more frequently, requiring her presence, conversations, possibility of a thin interval of time, distracted shamefully from the horrors, the nightmares I know Israel is forcing upon Palestinians in Gaza unceasingly because they inundate our phones. My mother and I share in how much we long for my grandmother who died 2 years ago. We long for her stories of her village and her mother country, her tiny grove of apricots, her grapevines, her gardens, her chickens. But I cannot long her stories of a village, a house that held generations, and then turn my face when Palestinians' homes that held and held for generations are turned into rubble, entire families erased from civil registries. Where do all of those stories go, those dreams? I hope the inexpressible magnitude of this loss haunts you like it haunts me. I cannot require my mother's presence, her warmth, her body's reminders that my body is real, when I know that over 17,000 Palestinian children are orphaned, unaccompanied or separated from their immediate relatives in the midst of such ineffable trauma. How dare we cocoon ourselves when children are injured, alone, stuck, hungry, hunted, sick, wailing for their murdered mothers. I want you to feel, I want you to act. I want you to prove that your hearts are working. I want us all together here to pass a ceasefire resolution, and that is just the smudgings of a bare minimum. If we do not expect this, demand this of one another, healthy beating hearts responding appropriately to the extermination of human lives, the lives of our global neighbors, full and rich and complex and loved like your own, then what is the shape of our future? And how do your own children fit in it if a regime can enact such drama and terror upon men, women, and children for 187 days and 75 years, financed by you and me without being charged for its atrocities and crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I want you.
Hi, my name is Andrea. I live in Monmouth County. I work and shop in Red Bank. I'm here on behalf of Jersey Shore Food Not Bombs and Jewish Voice for Peace. We are here to encourage City Council to pass a resolution for a permanent ceasefire in Palestine and for it to happen sooner than later. I will try to appeal to you from the financial perspective. Did you know that in Red Bank, $652,000 is funding from Red Bank's budget that is putting forth Israel's weapons? That's an amount of money that I personally was I did not expect to see that was the amount. This is based off of the total estimated funds the US government sends to the Israeli military from taxpayers in this area in Red Bank, New Jersey, through federal tax dollars. I want to give you another specific on how this money could otherwise be used in Red Bank. Instead of $220,000 going to fund bombing Palestinians, in Red Bank, this money could otherwise fund 26 households with public housing for a year. This money in Red Bank could fund 76 children receiving free or low-cost healthcare. This money could otherwise fund 2 elementary school teachers. This money could otherwise fund 628 households with solar electricity produced for a year. This money could otherwise fund 5 students with their loan debt canceled. And lastly, it could fund 191,871 N95 respirator masks. Now I'll try to appeal to you from the Jewish perspective. There are Jews in Red Bank, Jews in Monmouth County, Jews in New Jersey, Jews all over the country, Jews all over the world, including Jews in Israel, who have been calling for a ceasefire. There are Holocaust, and genocide survivors who are calling for a ceasefire. As the grandchild of Holocaust survivors myself, it is my duty to speak out against genocide. I grew up hearing the phrase never again, but now we must say never again for anyone. Never again for any child, and never again for any soldier even that is sucked into this war machine. If you were in Rafah or Khan Yunis and your children were being indiscriminately bombed inside of a hospital and starved, what would you want politicians in New Jersey to do for you? If you knew that those bombs being dropped were made here in America, and that's being bombed and dropped on your own family, you have the opportunity now. It is no more, what would you do if you lived during American chattel slavery? Would you have been an abolitionist? Or what would you have done if you lived during the Holocaust? Would you have resisted the Nazis? You have the time now. Please take a stand here in Red Bank and join the many cities and countries that have already called for a ceasefire in Gaza. You have the opportunity to be on the right side of history and uphold the values of your constituents. Please support a permanent ceasefire now.
Anyone else? Yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
Jimmy Darford, West Sunset. The main thing I wanted to say, what I had discussed, can it be information where people can get this information? A lot of things still have questions about. Can you set a timetable where you can meet with these people? Because I'm just saying, use the term wherever they are, you have these questions. A lot of things y'all had just told me, I never even heard of all these years. And I think it would be a fair thing because you just can't keep hide behind the curtain and then you just pushing things down. So this got to be done, this got to be done. It should be an open policy where these really, whatever you want to call them, and they sit there and say, this got to be done, this got to be done. And a lot of things, but I'm just saying, can you set a timetable where it could be more time to talk about this? And don't keep having to drift away like another 4 or 5 months or a year from now. And just like he said, it could be in the near future, but I mean, if you're going to say you're not going to do something, let's say it's only going to be 2 things done and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. I'm sure we can set something, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Just public information meeting, sure.
There's gonna be more community engagement on this issue at Sunset. And more specifically, in reference to your request from a few meetings ago, Sean in our zoning and community development office has been advised to put together the letter to go out to the residents in that area.
But the thing, but Billy, I want to say nice and short, you know, when you don't live somewhere, it's really devastating to find out something that's going on here. And then you still get it from somebody been there, it's like 90 years, 100 years. And when you don't live something and you know something around don't have, and it never worked out and people don't pass on and have all kind of health problems, it's not a good situation seeing somebody walk around like that and have this in their mind, but I appreciate it very much, but some people don't live here.
Which is why I wanted to provide you with that information, because maybe you never heard it before, but it's been around for a long time, and I want to make sure that we're.
Yes, if you go, like I said, you're gonna give somebody a good pie to eat, give them a good pie. Don't give them something half tore, and then you can't fix the tore pie.
Okay.
The Bible tell me, I'm old enough to know, and if I can't know it, I still have people in my family old enough to go back to, here from the 1800s. So basically, that's like they came here, and I'm still, some of the things, it just don't make no sense. Something there.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Also, Jimmy, I would just recommend, I think the public outreach is going to be very important, but in the meantime, I recommend to you or to anyone who's interested to read through the most recent master plan from 2023. The Sunset area was covered as a small area plan, very in-depth. The group that did that uncovered a lot of information, and it goes through the entire timeline if you want to understand more about what Jim was talking about.
I just want to say to all y'all, if somebody give you word, it's only gonna be 2 things done. If it can't, it's like things, I understand about things, but 2 things should be done, but then, one group, and then you're still going on and say, hey, what I'm going to do and think about this, and I don't want to be in a health hazard problem. And anybody else go through this, and I said, you can't see something with the negative eye. I just want to say this, and I appreciate it very much. I'm gonna cut the time down to the time.
Anyone else who hasn't spoken? Yes, sir.
I've somebody coming in.
You got someone online?
Just hold off for a second. Sarah can hang on 1 second.
Go ahead, sorry.
Hi.
Hi, Sarah, if you don't mind just hanging on 1 second for us.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
My name is Thomas Dugan. I'm from Middletown. I spoke to you last month. And we began to call to urge you to call for a ceasefire in Gaza, Palestine. So I spoke to you, there have been countless and indescribable atrocities carried out by Israel on Palestinian people with weapons provided by the United States. On March 18th and April 1st, the IDF raided, sieged, burned down the Al-Shifa Hospital, the largest medical facility in Gaza. For comparison, our Riverview Medical has 476 beds, Al-Shifa has 700, and is now burned to the ground. They're still removing bodies from the rubble, and the number of dead civilians is unknown, but there's another account from 2 surgeons who wrote an article that was just passed out to you. As surgeons, we have never seen cruelty like Israel's genocide in Gaza. They write, and I'll paraphrase some of it due to time. As humanitarian trauma surgeons, we have seen incredible suffering. Together, we have worked on more than 40 surgical missions, including 9/11, Katrina, the Boston Marathon, the earthquake in Haiti, and the war in Ukraine. Combined with 57 years of experience, we have learned that there was no greater pain as a humanitarian surgeon than being unable to provide needed care to a patient. That was before coming to Gaza. Now we know that the pain of being unable to properly treat a child who will slowly die, but also alone, because she is the only surviving member of an entire extended family. We have not had the heart to tell these children how their families died, burned until they resembled roasted hot dogs more than human beings, shredded to pieces such that they can only be buried in mass graves or simply entombed in their former apartment building, to die slowly of asphyxia or sepsis. If you do not see this as a political issue, please recognize it as a humanitarian crisis which we have never before seen. If the federal government will not fight for a substantial ceasefire and act when its weapons, made by us, are used to commit human rights violations, it is up to you to correct your record and stand for peace and humanity. We support the proposal for an immediate lasting ceasefire in Gaza today.
Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Sarah F, and I'm calling from Homedale, New Jersey, Monmouth County. So I'd like to also be a part of the call for asking for the Council of Red Bank, New Jersey, to call for a immediate ceasefire in Gaza. I'm asking you to join the New Jersey cities which have already passed the ceasefire resolutions, which is Patterson, Prospect Park, Halden, Union City, North Bergen, just to name a few. I believe someone before me had actually already given a financial aspect, the financial aspect behind the situation that's going on and how our money is directly funding the war crimes that's committed by the Israeli government. I'd like to provide a historical aspect. So as a social studies and an ELA teacher, I get asked all the time, how did we let the Holocaust happen this many years ago? And the answer is that it's exactly because of what's happening right now. A lot of people are turning this into a two-sided issue. They're turning a genocide of not just Palestinians, but Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians. Palestinian Christians are already a dying group that lives in Palestine. So these people are no longer going to exist. There's only a couple families that were left, and they're continuing to be genocided. So I always have to explain to my students that this is exactly what happens, right? When a lot of people know about what's happening, but no one wants to make a difference and no one wants to call on a ceasefire, this is exactly what happens. And we cannot let history to repeat itself. As an educator, I've had Palestinian students come up to me crying and were telling me that, yeah, they could not really sleep at night. They are having a hard time being able to get their work done because they have lost complete access to their families back in Gaza. So they literally do not have access. Their parents, their family in Gaza don't have access to internet, to Wi-Fi. So their families are literally being bombed and they have no idea what's happening because we have no way of reaching the people there. People there are being starved. There are videos that are showing up online of Palestinians being starved. You can literally see like the bones that are like coming out of their skin. They're being starved. They're being dehydrated all by the Israeli regime. I'm seeing countless people from countless Jewish people, Jewish Americans, Muslim Americans coming onto this meeting and other meetings asking for a ceasefire because this isn't something that only affects one group of people. This is a worldwide, this is a humanitarian, this is a human rights issue. As a resident of Monmouth County, New Jersey, I take a lot of pride in being from this county, which is why I would like to urge Red Bank, the township of Red Bank, to be one of the leaders in this ceasefire resolution movement, be the leaders for the rest of Monmouth County. A lot of these towns are looking at you guys as an example. So I really urge for you guys to make the first step. Thank you so much, and I yield my time.
Thank you. Anyone else here have a, yes?
Bruce Bernberg. I live at the Rail, just up the street down the block. I'd like to start with a refrain from a 1971 Broadway musical song. The musical was called To Live Another Summer, and it was written about Israel's six-day war victory. It goes like this. We're sorry we won it, we must have overdone it. We know quite well that a Jew has his place. A Jew who is a winner is a disgrace. Oh, please, world, excuse us. We're asking for forgiveness. We're awfully sorry. We're sorry we won the war. Listening to some of our neighbors, you would never know that a ceasefire would leave a renowned terror organization in charge of Gaza. Hamas has pledged the destruction of Israel and to repeat October 7th massacre until their gruesome goal is accomplished. A ceasefire without returning Israel's 130 hostages, really? What country would do that? The only way to peace in the Middle East is to defeat Hamas and other jihadi organizations. 80% of Americans currently support Israel in its conflict with Hamas. I suspect the same is true for Red Bank. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hi, my name is Gabriella Green. I'm from Powell. So last week we spoke, I told you just one story that someone experienced. And sitting in front of you all today, you all have an opportunity to do something. You all have a slight amount of power in this country to urge local officials, country officials, the president. I mean, you have the power to urge them to do the right thing. I mean, this isn't a two-sided issue. You're either pro-genocide or pro-humanity at this point. Over 40,000 people are dead every single day. What she was saying, 83 children are dead. Every 10 minutes, a child in Gaza dies. What time is it now? 8:19, so since 6:30, about what, over, I'm not good at math, I think around 10, 12 children have died since we've been speaking. I just don't understand. You have a semblance of power, so why would you not want to advocate for the right thing? It's not like we're asking you for some controversial thing. I mean, people shouldn't be arguing about people dying being wrong, because it is wrong, no matter what. I mean, nobody's denying that what happened on October 7th wasn't wrong, because I think everybody in the world is admitting that that was wrong. That shouldn't be something that happened. But now what we're arguing about is that something that's, I think, 33% worse than what happened on October 7th is wrong, but apparently that's controversial. I mean, 40,000 people dying is not controversial, it's wrong. I don't understand where the argument is coming from. I mean, calling for a ceasefire is just one small step in the right direction. The resolution Georgina proposed is advocating for the release of all hostages. So I don't understand how calling for a ceasefire would be leaving those hostages behind. We've seen that during this fight, the IDF soldiers have killed multiple hostages that were trying to be released. So if anything, a ceasefire would ensure more hostages are safe and more hostages will be returned to their homes, other than being killed by being friendly fire or whatever they're claiming it to be. I mean, they're saying Hamas is using children as human shields. So why is it acceptable then to kill those children who are being used as shields instead of trying to negotiate and using our words like adults? When did violence always just become the immediate answer? I mean, if we're going based on revenge, based on justice, when will the killing ever end? It won't. Because there will always be somebody who's been wronged by what's been happening, what's going to happen, what will happen, what had happened. There would just be no end to any killing. So I think a ceasefire itself is the step in the right direction, and that's what we're advocating for today. It shouldn't be a controversial issue, and it is a Red Bank issue because people in Red Bank are affected by what's been happening. They're affected by knowing that they're unwillingly paying for what's happening. So it is a Red Bank issue. Thank you.
Anyone's here? Jan, online, do we have?
Yes.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, you can call me Eliana Tova Lipson, and I'm from Lenape-Hoking, living in so-called Belmar. And I'm here to urge the Red Bank City Council to pass an immediate ceasefire resolution. And I would like to first acknowledge that I am speaking on stolen Lenape land. Unfortunately, genocidal land-stealing imperial birds of a feather tend to flock together. This is the second city council meeting I've attended, and in both I've noticed people voicing distress at the abject neglect of infrastructure and citizenry at the hands of its so-called government. People are being throttled by inflation, rising rents, and increasing taxes. Meanwhile, the American public, people like me, people like the listener, have sent the illegal Zionist entity occupying Palestine $260 billion in our own money since the 1960s. Money we could use to clean the water and our parks, to house the unhoused, feed the unfed, buy teachers school supplies, fix our roads, and plenty of other social programs. $200,000 comes from Red Bank alone. Plenty of cash to aid in bolstering public good. Instead, we send that money halfway around the world to blow it up, along with 40,000 men, women, and children. Sorry, I lost my spot. Whose main crime was being born on the wrong side of an apartheid wall. I am assuming everyone here already knows what they believe to be right, so I am just here to tell you what is pragmatic. We should be using our money to combat Anthropocene so we can all have a future instead of destroying the future of Palestinians just for being born into an open-air concentration camp. A ceasefire is less than the bare minimum. War steals lives, and we would all be better off without it. I hope you'll stand on the right side of history that, by the way, did not start on October 7th. If that does not interest you, I'll add that war is too expensive. To the other Jews in this meeting, you do not speak for me. The IDF isn't even good at warfare, nor honorable, let alone moral. I don't want to send them a portion of my paycheck every week for them to spend it on Pampers. And the American public has every right to stop funding them. The West's blood debt for allowing the Holocaust to occur cannot be paid in Palestinian blood. That does not even make logical sense. If that land is holy, like all land is, how dare you drop bombs upon it and its people? Ceasefire yesterday. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, and so will Turtle Island. Thank you for your time. Salam, shalom, aho.
Not sure if this individual already spoke, but you can ask them if you don't want.
All right.
Because it's just listed as AG, was that?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
They're on,
Have you, on Zoom, have you had a chance to speak already?
Hello?
Hey, AG, did you get to speak already?
No, I didn't get to speak.
Okay, go ahead, you're on.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Atika Gunja. I live in East Brunswick in Middlesex County. This is my second meeting that I'm attending. And I'm definitely in support of the immediate permanent ceasefire resolution for Palestine. And this is the speaker before me said it just so eloquently. It needed to be done yesterday. I guess my question is, why has a week, is it 2 weeks now have elapsed between meetings and you guys have not taken any action to stop the killings that are going on daily in Palestine and the horror that we're seeing? And now Israel has bombed the Iranian consulate in Syria. And so that also like puts us all at risk, the entire world at risk of a more regional conflict. And again, us having to possibly sacrifice our sons and daughters in warfare over there. My partner is in the Navy right now and was supposed to come back from deployment and has to now, his ship is being turned around to go back there to possibly to fight Iran. I'm just appalled at the lack of accountability that the people before me in the town council meeting are taking. You're not using your position of power. You're not representing your citizens right now, your constituents, and that's what the US Constitution holds you to do. So I do hold all of you in contempt. I hold everybody that's in a position to do the right thing right now in contempt of their of the Constitution and of your position. And I think that you all should be removed if you're not going to represent the people. So I'm just really, really disappointed, and I don't want another 2 weeks to elapse without any action on your part. So I need you all to really listen to what your constituency is saying. I'm not one of your constituents, but I'm looking to Red Bank as well to pass this, and we're putting pressure on our own towns as well. This is of utmost importance. This is a humanitarian crisis. It's really not political and it's not religious. There are those aspects, but this is at the end of the day just a human catastrophe, really, that the world has never seen before. So I mean, everybody else gave really amazing reasons for why we needed a ceasefire. And I think the other side gave absolutely lackluster reasons because there really are no good reasons. I think it's like it must be a real great privilege to start off your speech with a song or with a joke. I don't have that privilege to do that. I think there was a joke that was passed 2 weeks ago. I don't know if it was the same gentleman, but I find it very offensive, given the gravity of the situation. So anyway, you've heard all the reasons, Al-Shifa Hospital bombing, incineration, basically, amongst other things, atrocities that have happened in the last 2 weeks. I guess you guys just need to really answer to us, why are you not doing this? I would really like to know the reason why you're not taking action, why you're not listening to us, why you're not using your power for good I think we really deserve an answer for that, and I would like to hear from the council in the next meeting, an answer to that question. And then we can make decisions as we need to as citizens who vote in November. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Else have any comments or questions? No, can I have a motion to close the public comment?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Mayor and council comments?
Let's start, Christina.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to use some time this evening, take a moment to remember and honor Michael Lexstein, who's our long-serving planning board attorney who passed away last week. Michael was very sharp, very funny, very kind man. He also is the person who taught me that the best pizza in the world is from Patsy's in Paterson, New Jersey. And he enriched, I know, my life in many ways and many others. And I just wanted to take a moment to remember him.
Yay. He's a legend. Totally a legend. Like, planning board meetings will not be the same. I like the sun, but it's not the same.
Mayor and I met with Lisa Richardson today. I think that we'll start hearing some updates. They did accept bids for those to start making those plans and assessing the financial and the physical needs of the spaces. And there is some progress there. And we had an opportunity, the mayor and I, to pop in at the art session that was sponsored by Monmouth Arts. I want to again acknowledge that community organization who's going to be expanding over at the Basie starting next week. It was very nice. He's not here, but if in case anyone's wondering, Red Bank has a sneaky jazz history, but did you know Steve Hecht used to jam with Herbie Hancock? He used to play drums with Herbie when he was in college. So Jazz Appreciation Month, but really I want to reflect a little bit on Mike Lexstein. Mike, Mr. Lexstein, and Mr. Lexstein, 6 years I was on planning, and one of the funny things is I always considered him to be a sneaky kind man, and he could be very, very direct. But he was a mentor to me before I wanted to go into the law, and he was one of the first people who I whispered in the ear of, by the way, I'm going to law school. He was exceptionally proud of me when I won the book and property, and exceptionally disappointed when I told him I had no interest in being a land use attorney. He was generous with his time with me. He gave it to me before meetings, after meetings, on the phone. And I guess one of those few regrets I'm gonna have is that we had a plan when after I graduated to go up to Patsy's in Paterson and have pizza to celebrate. And there's a handful of folks I'm gonna genuinely miss at that graduation party, and Mr. Lexstein is one of them. He was a good man. He was a very good attorney. Yeah, I don't really know what else to say about him except that he's just missed. It's just like an instant feeling as soon as I heard that he was in hospice that I knew he wasn't gonna be with us, and it doesn't feel quite right, but that's life. And the sons are in my thoughts and prayers. They lost their mother a year ago and they lost their father just now, and it's a great family, and I'm glad that we still have a Lexstein with the planning board.
The Shade Tree Commission received their application for their designation as Tree City USA. They are working very hard to keep the shade trees that we do have around town in good shape and add wherever they can. From the Environmental Commission, I would like to report that on April 20th, there's going to be a partnership with the Red Bank Regional Dreamers Club for community cleanup, starting at the Johnny Jazz Park across from Coffee Corral. And on the 22nd of April, on the actual Earth Day, there will be a green fair at the Red Bank Middle School. And with the middle schoolers, so the middle schoolers will do their part, and we bring the tables with different kinds of groups that are environmentally related. So it's a wonderful educational event. And of course, there's entertainment as well. And on the 27th, the Environmental Commission is looking to start to do the cleanup on the end of West Side Avenue, which is a garden. The goal is to make that into a naturally a pollinator garden to start afresh. They're looking to do that. I'd like to remind everybody else that council hours continue on Wednesdays from 10 to 12 at the senior center. Feel free to drop in anytime. There are also evening council hours, but that's by appointment only, and that will be on Wednesdays. The Red Bank YouTube page is up and running. You can watch videos of the planning, zoning, historical preservation committee, and of course, council meetings. It's posted there the following day, and it's called, the YouTube channel is at Borough of Red Bank. And with the resolution that was introduced today for health and all policies, well, one of the purposes of that is to look at issues, the impacts of health and the environment as well. And, you know, they came up about the issue happening over at the end of Sunset Avenue, that area that's in need of remediation. And so, you know, that's why we have that resolution, so we can, you know, take a broader look at its impacts. So that's all I have, Mayor.
All right, so I got three things today. I got,
Is your mic on?
I don't know, how's it now?
Yep, good.
So I'm actually gonna respond to some of the comments today. I'll do that last. I want to talk about oversized trucks a little bit, and I wanted to give an update on the Parks and Rec. So I'll start with the oversized trucks. I would just like to request that at some point when we're all set up, and I'd like to talk about large trucks on the streets and parking in Red Bank, Mr. Mayor. And if you'd be kind enough to put that there and maybe do a report. I have had interactions with Jim and the administrative team on the topic. I've had my own observations, emails, direct conversations and texts on the topic, and something during election that came up. So I'd like to talk about that. The other day I saw a large Avery tree truck parked somewhere on a residential street, and it seemed very out of place to me. Okay, two, update as the liaison to from Parks and Rec. We're going to be starting Zumba lessons at the senior center on Tuesdays from 6:30 to 7:30. That's a new thing. I think that's good use of the center. Open play pickleball has had an amazing start. Tuesdays between 9 and 11 p.m. Bring your own paddles. Free for
AM or PM?
AM, right. Yeah, actually, yeah, I guess would be. So, actually, you'll have to teach me how to play, Mr. Mayor.
I've only.
Right in your neighborhood.
I'm not even sure I know the rules. I'm a tennis guy, then, you know.
We have a free pickleball clinic coming up on May 9th. Go to our website for all the details on that. Pride in the Parks coming up on June 8th. Let's see, fourth annual Juneteenth celebration, Sunday, June 16th from 1 to 5 p.m. Johnny Jazz. Summer camp programs are filling up fast, so sign up. I believe they're also hiring for some of these programs. You know, anybody's looking for a job. And lastly, I'll comment because we've all spent so much time here tonight, and I've been an activist most of my life, mostly on environmental issues. I grew up in a household that was very anti-war. You know, so I do hear and I'm affected by much of the things that are happening in the world, not just what you said here tonight. You know, why don't I make a motion? Why don't we take a vote? And I thought, I'm not making a motion because, you know, when I campaigned for council in Red Bank, I knocked on a lot of doors. I would guess 2,000, but I could be wrong. I didn't engage with residents generally on international issues. I think maybe once or twice, maybe somebody thought I was running for Congress. But I really didn't. So you say, you know, Ben, you of all people, where happened to your conscience? You know, and I would not say never. Maybe there'll be a point where I'm up here and I want to support taking a position on an international issue of such magnitude. But I really feel uncomfortable as a representative of Red Bank, everyone. Synagogue, my neighbors, you, my family. Taking a position on this insanity that is happening in the Middle East. You know, I don't know who said the quote, but was it truth is like the first casualty of war? And then one of the big, you know, when I hear even tonight, you know, and I would go to Hamas's website yesterday. I was prompted to just go there, and sounds pretty awful, like, let's just get rid of Israel and who cares what happens to the people? I mean, I'm oversimplifying it, but it wasn't like, let's learn to live together. You know, the attacks on Israel and throwing grenades in the bomb shelters and apparently raping Israelis. And now dropping bombs and killing tens of thousands of people, innocent people. Hamas is apparently the de facto government there. I would love peace to start. I would love the hostages to be turned over. This whole thing is just a hideous destruction. And do I think that Netanyahu is mismanaging these affairs? I absolutely do. Probably doing exactly what Hamas wanted. Overreacting. Hurting Israel probably in the long run. For sure. So that's what I think. But that's me, Ben Forrest, the individual, in my opinion. I'm not an expert on international affairs. And I really don't feel comfortable as a Red Bank councilman to say, I'm going to take a position for everyone on this, for the town. There's a lot of issues, a lot of stuff that's not dealt with, small and big. And I'm not comfortable really at this point. I'm listening, and maybe I'll change my mind going forward. And I appreciate your activism in coming here and exercising your freedom of speech, trying to convince us. And I'm honored that all of you are here to share with us. And I am listening, and I listen to when you text and call. And one last piece of this, and this is not a popularity contest. If I felt comfortable bringing up a resolution, I'd bring it up for a vote. Mayor Portman has told me, Mayor Portman hasn't told me not to do that. You know, the overwhelming majority of residents that I've spoken to, and there's been a lot on this topic, not in this room though, but there's been a lot all over town. It says, stay out, don't take a position on this. It's not even close, like 95%. And the few that want to take a position, most of those don't live in Red Bank, you know, come up from the outside of the context of this room. But it's not a popularity contest. If I felt like comfortable taking an international position for my fellow Red Bank residents, I might take it up, but I'm not there yet. So that's my commentary. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Laura.
Hi, I wanted to talk about a few things today. I was going to bring up something from the Animal Welfare Committee, but we'll do that next time since we're running so late tonight. The library, I'm the liaison to the library. I was really honored to go to their volunteer appreciation reception. It was an excellent event, and the great part of it, besides meeting all the volunteers and meeting the volunteer of the year, who happens to own the frame shop across from Pins and Feathers, was the photo contest winners. If you get a chance, well, actually, they're not in the library anymore because they had them framed and they announced who the winners were, and they were beautiful photos of Red Bank. So it was really a nice event on April 6th. Also at the library on May 1st, at 6:30 p.m. on the first floor of the library, there will be a reception. We're calling it an AED donation event. As you know, Hackensack Meridian Riverview Hospital gave the library 3 AEDs and also 3 cabinets. So they're going to be the library will be hosting an event to thank them on May 1st at 6:30. There'll be light reception, light refreshments. I can't go, but I'm urging the council and the rest of the gym to go to that because that was a really nice donation from Riverview. Moving on to animal welfare. We actually voted on a lot this week at animal welfare meeting. We voted on the mission statement and the goals. We also talked a lot about dog days, which will not be in Marine Plateau because September 7th, it will not be ready for us. So We have saved Riverside Park, where we're looking at other venues for that. The trap and neuter that was brought up last week, I think by Sue. We have put 2 cats behind the Y. We have lots of traps set up, but what we found out by having, there's a camera back there, is that we're wondering why we haven't trapped more. If somebody's letting them out of the trap, so, we're gonna have to, yeah, I guess they probably don't understand why they're being trapped, and, you know, so we'll have to put up some sort of sign or find out who's doing it and educating them so we can neuter them, because, you know, then the colony will get really big, right? Being the owner of 3 cats, I know that, so, anyhow, the thing that I was gonna talk about tonight, but I will table it to the next meeting, is, we also voted on the keeping of backyard chickens, which we do have, S 731.-3, but it says that the chickens have to be 40 feet from the house or where people are living. We'd like to make that a shorter distance, but we'll work that out together, at the next meeting when we have more time. But I did tell them that I would bring it to this meeting. Thank you, Nancy, for bringing up the social determinants of health at the West Park, Sunset Avenue Park. I think that's really important. And I do want to thank everyone who came out tonight too. I feel like, Ben, we are listening. Just don't think we're not listening. We are listening. But I feel the same way as you, that I did not run on international issues. Thank you.
No report, just can we make sure we put the animal welfare thing on for discussion and action next meeting?
Okay,
Thanks.
Yeah, a couple things following up what David said. We need Lisa Richardson into. We're never gonna meet our fair share housing obligation just by having, you know, the percentage of housing. The opportunity to do some extensive renovations or just full rebuilds of portions of our housing authority properties. And maybe even double, you know, the number of affordable housing units we have. So I think that would be a great thing. May 18th, we're as part of the Mayor's Wellness Campaign, we're gonna have a biking with the mayor event, details to follow, but hopefully I'll get to ride around town with whoever wants to join me. Also, and a bunch of other Mayor's Wellness events coming up. I'm excited for Dave Cassidy helped put the Record Ride event together. Happening, what's the date on that?
May 11, but gotta thank River Center, Jack's Music for saying yes, Fred at Zaituni for saying yes, and Kate, our liaison. It's a really good example of how when someone has an idea, it's very quick when people get together. I mean, that turned around in 2 weeks, and I think it's gonna bring in about 1,000 people and onto Mechanic Street, and the Hook and Ladder is supporting it, and I think it's just another interesting, nice way for us to support downtown.
And it's the first weekend.
But thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that event. I'm on to stuff.
I'm gonna be doing, come hang out with me at the Hook and Ladder. I'm gonna have my turntable set up. I'm gonna have 30 choice pieces of vinyl from my collection and good conversation.
Okay, very nice. And yeah,
I had something, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You just brought up May 11th. I forgot to mention that the Animal Welfare Committee, the whole month of May, will be collecting dog and cat food again, once again for lunch break. They were very appreciative of all the dog and cat food that we collected last time. So on May 11th, at the opening of Broadwalk, we will have a table there. Come down with your dogs too, but bring us some cat and dog food, because what I hear from lunch break is they have lots of dog food, but hardly any cat food. Thanks, sorry.
that's all right. Last thing I wanted to say was, you know, we voted in Red Bank to change our form of government. And the new form of government really places a lot of control of the day-to-day operations in the hands of a manager. So it's very important to get a good manager. And so far, I want to commend you, Jim, for the job you're doing. There's a lot to tackle in this little town, and you're checking it off item by item. So appreciate the job you're doing.
Yeah.
And you can give your manager's report.
After that, I better not say no report, right? Tomorrow, The 12th at 10:30 in the morning, we are gonna be having our K-9 retirement ceremony out in the front parking lot. We invite the public to join us as well. Stop by, stand on the sidewalk. It should be quick, but we will be out there. We've gone out to bid. We discussed this a little bit earlier for Marine Park, and I just wanted to restate in the report and the White Street easement parking lot and green space improvements. The bid opening will take place on April 30th by our engineers, and our anticipated contractor award will be on May 9th so that we can start that project. The Monmouth Street streetscape design is underway by the borough engineer, and we plan to submit to NJDOT for approval and solicit feedback also from River Center at the end of April and early May. That NJDOT process unfortunately takes a little bit of time, but we'll be moving through the process as expeditiously as we can. As most of you know by now, the Spring Street sinkhole repair is complete. Unfortunately, there was a larger scope of work there that was discovered once the area was excavated. And it's customary to review the trenches after a 90-day waiting period for the settlement of the pavement. So we'll be doing that, watching that after 90 days. And as Councilman Farr said, we are having internal discussions, myself, Captain Frazee, and traffic safety with regard to commercial vehicles, particularly those that exceed 10,000 pounds being parked overnight on borough roads. Concern of mine is pavement preservation and sightline safety on the roadways with those larger vehicles. So aside from unhitched trailers, which we are enforcing, we will be looking at ordinance review in collaboration with police leadership on commercial vehicles as well, and seeing if there's an opportunity for recommendations there for policy development. In the coming week, we will be holding an operational meeting with regard to Broadwalk to discuss safety, traffic, pedestrian movement, and emergency planning amongst our internal and external resources, public safety, DPW, myself, administration, support, code. There's going to be a lot of people at this meeting just so we can discuss all aspects of Broad Street. And I want to thank the mayor and council for your support on the development of the position of the community engagement coordinator. I think it's a great position that's going to cover a lot of ground with the expectations that I have for that position, as far as event planning, increasing community involvement, enhancing our communication, building relationships with all sides of the borough of Red Bank, having tailored programs to certain groups, understanding our community's needs and interests, just enhancing civic participation. Those are all very important things for our government, our transparency. And I expect this individual to also be very involved with delivering the message of the borough so that it's getting out there effectively to everybody and strengthening our relationships with the community. So I appreciate the support on that, and hopefully the public hearing goes well on that. And I think we'll definitely be better for it. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Executive session, no?
I don't think so, but-
No,
You do.
we do.
You do.
Very briefly.
Okay. Motion to adjourn to executive session.
Please, there's a motion, Mr. Mayor.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Bye.
We take a break for 5 minutes?
We're just taking a 5-minute break. The meeting is over, but we have to stay. We have to discuss, and Greg will let us know. Go ahead.
So for the public benefit, topic of our executive session is potential litigation regarding Red Bank. The discussion will last about 10 minutes, and we will not take any action when we emerge from executive session.